I'm so happy, happy-go-lucky me. I just go my way, living every day. I don't worry and don't agree. Winter, fall, and spring, I just smile and sing. Things that bother you never bother me. I think everything's fine. Living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful time. Haven't got a lot, I don't need a lot, 'cause it's only a dime. Living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful time. Just take it from me, I'm just as free as a dove. I do what I like, just when I like, and how I love it. We don't give a hoot, give my cares a boot, all the world is in rhyme. Living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful da-da, wa-da-da, 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 wa-da-da. I'll be right in my prime, living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful time.
You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct, right here in the SHR Media studios. I'm broadcasting not from California, but from North Idaho, an actual free state. I happen to be your conservative Sherpa. And what I do is I guide you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, betrayal, and all of those things. And that's what I do. That's my job. Please note that for the next 2 hours, however long it may be, maybe a little over, maybe a little under, this show is my opinion. I opine here. And that's what I do. It's my opinion and my opinion only. The only guest tonight is me. Me and my vodka, potato water. Thanks for being here. So I am doing the job that the American media maggots refuse to do. I am fundamentally changing America one leftist diaper at a time. We don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversations. We are still serving stiff drinks here in the saloon, along with facts, history, logic, rationality, proportion, context, clarity, tradition, and common sense for normal people like you. Say, that's some great common sense you got there. I like it. It looks good on you. Politics, religion, crime, culture, race, sex, economics, science, law. We talk about it all right here at the saloon, in the saloon where the speech is free, but the booze is not. I am streaming live right now to a whole bunch of different places. Let me see if I can pull that up. And you can find me on Spreaker and Apple Podcasts and Facebook Live. And live right now at KLRN Radio, courtesy of Rick Robinson. You can also find me on Twitch, on the SHR Media YouTube channel, the SHR Media Rumble channel, and on X. I am on my X, which happens to be, when I say that, I get some lurid things going through my brain because, yes, I did have a starter marriage. Just move that aside, BZ. I'm on X at BZ's Saloon. So thanks to everybody for being here. Meanwhile, a few moments later, hey, welcome to the show. Let's see what we have in comments already. Hey, like I indicated, look, it is the Phantom is here tonight. And the Phantom says yes. And it's NCX Group. This happens to be the group that does my cyber security, like a locked cage, like steel teeth. That's me and my cyber security. Don't try to kick my ass to the ground. I'll ruin you. I'll ruin you, mother. Also, thanks to the Reaver of Common Sense for being here. Hey, wouldn't that be weird? He has his own show. The Reaver of Common Sense, Jersey Joe. And also, Mission Ready Men is here. Big E Earl Jackson with his show, Mission Ready Men on SHR. Also, Rick Robinson says, what a kind gentleman. He says, make sure to please like and share. And there is some connective going on right here with everybody. This is the time when I say something similar to, you can share the show right now, and you can be in our chat room. This is the current iteration of the chat room. Now, in other places, it may be 80 degrees. By the way, as you can see, it is my plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room. Probably going to be changing it again. It was rainy yesterday. Today, cloudy off and on. So it just depends. My understanding, though, is that it's been pretty windy and rainy. Well, it was windy today. Windy today, windy tomorrow. So thanks for being here. And the best chat room to be in is the one over at the SHR Media YouTube channel. And I also want to say, if you would be so kind, I update this constantly because it requires constant updating. When you go to the SHR Media YouTube channel, we're looking to get 500 subscribers. And I'm sure everybody watching the show is thinking, would you move on? Stop pumping the subscriptions. But again, I noticed as of yesterday, we're only 46 down from 500 subscribers. And that's all we need to hit 500. And that next subscriber could be you. So thanks for everyone doing that. I also thank KLRN's Rick Robinson for streaming the show live, generally on Thursday nights. Kudos to everybody. Also, tonight is going to be a little bit different. I may run this for a while. If you are interested, you are always welcome to call in. The number is 916-835-3320. 3329. That number in New Zealand is 916-835-3329. Lime 98329. And that number in Bolivia is 2. Here's a partial score. Green Bay 21. Moving right along. Hey, let's see if there's more comments. Yes, there are. And the Phantom says, it's free. Yes, it is. There is no paywall here. And I thank everybody for doing that. Look, Lost Wanderer is here, proving once again that not all who wander are lost. Anyway, I know people are hesitant to get on the phone and call in. Well, that's okay, because we haven't really gotten to the meat of the matter yet. Until I run this out, however, we're going to have more Trunk Monkey. Go.
Department of Agriculture.
Your hat is fabulous.
Ma'am?
How about if we don't give us a ticket today and just a warning?
License and registration.
Okay.
Uh-oh. What? Tap, tap, tap.
Is this your monkey?
The Trunk Monkey, a revolutionary idea you'll...
I'm away.
Okay. I loves me some Trunk Monkey. Let's go on also and expand this. Okay. This is essentially a minute of bicyclists, normally on a trail, who have been ruining a property owner's property, and he put up a fence. And for those of you who happen to be bicyclists, I would say this. Some of the most arrogant pricks that I've ever encountered in law enforcement were bicyclists. In California, always spell it with a K, bicycles are subject to the vehicle code. And as vehicles, they have to obey all the traffic laws. And so this is why I find it this is for me a wee bit of schadenfreude. If you're a bicyclist, I hope you don't take offense. Speaking of taking offense, let's go here. Normally, I don't do this immediately right out of the box. But tonight, I believe I'm going to. 35 people already listening live and watching live. Thank you very kindly. Tonight's theme, so to speak, is my insistence, I suppose, that we remove leftist, anarchist, black-robed judges immediately. And here's the story that started it. Now, because Democrats, the DLG, Democrats, leftists, and globalists, couldn't find it amongst themselves to win one way, they're going to win another way. In other words, they lost the election November 5th, the presidential election, with any number of cock-ups. Those are stories that have already been counted multiple times. Well, they couldn't win. They couldn't get the popular vote. They couldn't get the Electoral College. So they decided that they would contact all their black-robed leftist anarchist buddies and go shopping for judges. Now, the Republicans, as Rick Robinson has pointed out a couple of times, they're not that much smarter in terms of their own show prep for the show that began January 20th. And I got to put this up. I'm trying to be serious, damn it. The Phantom says, by the way, I may be in the shadows, but I come out for the show. And Squatch Zone is in the chat room. And I got to put his up. Morons can't see a gate. Well, yeah, that's because they're driving so fast. Okay, I was trying to get serious here, but I had to put that up anyway. Welcome, Squatch and Squatch Zone. So they couldn't win. They decided that they were going to go with all these black-robed judges. Now, they're all, I should note, from district courts. So a federal judge in California has decided that Border Patrol agents can't arrest somebody suspected of living in the U.S. illegally unless they have a warrant or a reason to believe the person might flee before a warrant can be obtained. I should emphasize again, these are district court judges, and they are insisting to make sure that a district judge in a district, they're called districts for a reason, you see, that their rulings, their opinions, they opine, are held all across the nation. And so, Rick Robinson says, I was happy to see the admin trolled everybody about Waltz, including me. And the point is, we will get to that story. Waltz was not, he's not removed. He wasn't yanked out by the short fuzzies. He went to another location. He went to another appointment. We will get to that story. 38 people watching live. Thanks to everyone there. But I wanted to weigh in with this. I've got a ton of stories. I've got a ton of videos, but I want to start here because Democrats, leftists, and globalists have asked Mom. They couldn't make it logically. They couldn't win at the polls. They couldn't win in the court of popular opinion. So they're going to take it to all the You're trying to ruin me, Rick Robinson. You're trying to ruin me because I see that. I see that in chat, and I know you know that I see that in chat. Here I was trying to be serious for just a moment because this is normally a really serious show. Anyway, so rulings from these judges hurt Americans. And in my opinion, these are, because there are multiple that have come down, these are violations of the rule of law. We conservatives, Republicans to a degree, maybe little L libertarians like myself, we like to emphasize law and order. So when a judge blocks deportations of individuals, I call them illegal invaders, who are in the country illegally, that undermines the enforcement of existing immigration laws passed by Congress. There are USC, United States codes, that strictly and specifically delineate that entering the United States is a crime in and of itself. So if we eschew Gesundheit, these laws, then that sends the message, obviously, that federal immigration laws can be selectively ignored. And what that does is erode further trust in government, as if somebody had any amount of trust, so to speak, from the beginning on most every level. It also tells everybody else laws can be ignored as well. Well, pick one. But the laws that can be ignored are those only that benefit the DLG, the Democrats, the leftists, and the globalists. And it also tends to undermine sovereignty and security. So we stress, people like us, stress national sovereignty and secure borders, limiting deportations, especially of these arseholes with criminal backgrounds, is a clear and obvious threat to public safety and border integrity. Now, the DLG don't see it that way, but it makes it harder for immigration agencies to fulfill their national security responsibilities and every other agency that happens to have a stake in dealing with national security. It also tends to perpetuate stereotypes by shielding certain immigrants from deportations. Those rulings contribute to negative stereotypes that I submit are made worse by inconsistent enforcement. If illegal behavior is met with leniency, what do you get? Well, the obvious answer is more illegal behavior. So it can be perceived that certain groups are what the Democrats, leftists, and globalists like to throw back at us, which is nobody's above the law except the people that are above the law, like this, like judges, like illegal invaders. And that creates all kinds of tensions on all kind of levels. And it continues to obviously what I would consider and submit that divide. It does nothing but divide the United States of America. And it also does an assload of economic harm and creates job competition. These are things that a lot of people don't customarily think about. Rick Robbins says the allergies are killing him. And that, Rick does know how to make me laugh. From a conservative economic viewpoint, illegal immigrants or illegal invaders increase labor competition for low-skilled jobs. We already know that. That's been going on for quite some time, particularly harming working-class Americans. By stopping illegal invaders from being kicked out, those rulings allow people who entered the country unlawfully to remain in the workforce, and that drives down wages, and that takes jobs that otherwise could go to legal residents or citizens. Here's a suggestion. Ask blacks in Chicago what they happen to think about that. And while we're talking about that, in a similar vein, there is an increased, obviously, to me, burden on social services. There is fiscal responsibility. Preventing illegal invaders from getting kicked out means more people access a finite amount of public resources, including cash, not just infrastructure, but cash as well, available to all of those things, including like healthcare, emergency healthcare, education, help in housing, and without contributing that proportional amount in taxes. So this increases the national debt. Whoa, there's a concept, and already overburdens systems. We're going to get to a point on that too, in terms of a system itself that these people are using. Ask blacks in Chicago. Oh, hey, ask residents of Springfield, Ohio, how much they're loving their beloved Haitians. And misallocation of constitutional protections. This is a huge one. Constitutional rights are reserved for citizens and legal, lawful residents. District judges who go in and decide that they're going to expand due process to make sure it covers more people that the intent was not there to cover from their small district, and then make it expand over the entire nation, they're overstepping the intent of the Constitution. Now, they know it, but they don't give a shit. And that's quite clear and obvious. They're granting rights and privileges to individuals who haven't followed lawful immigration procedures. And all that does is make everybody who's hanging around waiting to get in, trying to do it properly, it's pissing them off. And a lot of those people that have done it lawfully and are already here and or are actual American citizens, that's jerking their chains as well. It creates the black-robed leftist anarchist judges are creating rights and hearings out of whole cloth, heretofore never afforded to anybody else. They haven't existed in other previous administrations. And this is called making shit up. Let me see if I can point this now. All these presidents, and I'm going to have to pull this down just for a moment so that you can see the full graphic. All of these presidents did just that. They removed a ton of illegal invaders. Hey, look, it's Bill Clinton. 869,000 that he deported. It's George Bush Jr. 2,012,000 illegal invaders gone, deported under the Bush regime. Hey, Barack Hussein Obama, 3 million illegal invaders that he took out. Then there's Trump, 45, 1,100,000 illegal invaders. And Biden, I'm kind of surprised that he took any out at all. Look, it's the smallest amount of illegals of any president heretofore up to this date. The auto pen regime removed 616,657 illegal invaders. Trump so far about 30,000. So should we be surprised about this? And the answer is no. We shouldn't be surprised. But all of the people before that took illegal invaders out, that was okay. Now, because it's Trump 47 and they didn't win the election, the Democrats, leftists, and globalists are shitting kittens and car parts, making sure that their good friends, the asshole judges, are doing their bidding. And you can't tell me when you start doing investigations into these people that they're not linked to either money or cui bono. That's the first thing you have to ask. Who benefits out of all of that? Now, a bunch of recent district court rulings addressed the Trump administration's use of the 1798 Enemies Act, or Alien Enemies Act, the AEA. And that was to expedite the deportation of illegal invaders, particularly Venezuelans associated with the Trinidad gang, and also MS-13. These rulings from these black-robed assholes have great security consequences, national security, and the rights of non-citizens. And people are saying, well, this is placing the rights of these citizens above actual Americans. And where did this come from? Comment from Squatch Zone. So these are new rights. As I indicated, you could see by the graphic how many prior presidents did so. They removed illegal invaders. But now that it's Trump, particularly 47, it's time to make sure that none of this occurs. Fine for the other presidents. Semi-okay under 45. Absolutely verboten under 47. So, District Court Judge Fernando Rodriguez, who happens to be a Trump appointee, I'll tell you about that. Hey, 43 people watching live right now. Thanks to you. Said the use of the administration, by the administration of the AEA to get rid of Venezuelan migrants without due process was unlawful. Okay, except the one particular individual that everyone is bleeding over, he had due process twice. And yet we still can't protect the nation. This is obviously, to me, judicial overreach. Black-robed, leftist, anarchist judicial overreach that exceeds the scope of their judicial authority in matters of national security and also illegal invader enforcement. What, we don't have the ability to enforce our own laws? Well, the answer is, of course, yes, we do. And they're written into the various elements of the USC. What this does is this undermines public safety, confidence, whatever confidence is remaining in government, and the government's ability to protect its citizens and to keep our sovereignty and to keep our national security, which are huge. They're extremely important. Fiscal responsibility and public resources. So when the decisions all around the boneyard land were made to halt the removal of illegal invaders, it placed a continuing, which kind of moves up and down, but it's a continuing increase on the American taxpayer and the burden on public services and resources. Illegal invaders who aren't removed from the country continue to access social services and access healthcare and access education. And that strains state and federal budgets. Hey, look, California, always spell it with a K, complaining that we're billions of dollars over budget, primarily because we decided to afford free shit to illegal invaders, people who aren't do that. Meanwhile, actual Americans in California, always spell it with a K, are fucked with a capital UCT. But wait, those black-robed leftist anarchist judges' decisions, they limit the executive branch's ability to respond fast to national security threats and enforce immigration laws effectively. The laws are on the books. I repeat, for those of you who just tuned in, the laws are on the books. And if you don't want those laws on the books, then why don't you make new laws? Why don't you craft new laws? And the reason is because they know, Congress knows, Democrats in particular know, that those laws, if they want to change them, aren't going to go anywhere. So the undermining will occur in a huge way. The balance of powers and the role of the judiciary in shaping immigration policy is way, 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 way lopsided, as you already know. Okay, so one of the fundamental things that you have to ask yourself is, why do we have an executive branch if the judicial branch can rule and run everything? And that really doesn't take into account the legislative branch as well, who've already ruled, who've already made laws that are enforceable or should be enforceable under the USC, the U.S. Code. So somewhere, I got a break coming up. I'll come back after the break with more, but I will leave with this. Somewhere, there has to be some kind of a balance between executive authority and judicial oversight, the legislative branch, and the enforcement of immigration laws against illegal invaders. These decisions, they reduce most any effective enforcement of national security. These are huge issues revolving around national security and the protection of American citizens. That's the fundamental job of government.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Come listen to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Live on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Rumble channel, SHR Media YouTube channel, X, Twitch, Spreaker, and wherever great conservative podcasts are found. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, guides you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Raised as a free-range child with dirt, stains, mud, and freedom, BZ broadcasts from North Idaho, comfortably surrounded by actual normal people. Jump into our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room on rumble.com. Click on live chat to join. Now, with 37% more umbrage and 19% more bulbosity than previous shows, featuring delicious Liberty additives for the best in late-night conservatarian talk radio. BZ reminds you that with great beard comes great responsibility. No chinchillas were harmed, embarrassed, fat-shamed, or the focus of any sarcasm whatsoever in the making of this ad.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? Coming in November to SHR Media. By way of Big E Jackson, you need to check out Mission Ready Men. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man, as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson, coming this November on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back. The first half hour, she is gone. She has flown away. And the theme of tonight's show is we need to remove leftist anarchist judges immediately. Now, because I listened to Rick Robinson, who is soothing his ragged voice right now, because he's been speaking almost 24/7. Yesterday, he was on a whole host of shows, had his own show, went here, went there, went quick like a bunny over to the Edge of Liberty last night, and that is Sean Lewis's show, and it looks something like this. And you need to go there on Monday and Wednesday nights, same time as me, 8 p.m. Pacific. And Rick Robinson was in there talking with us about all sorts of things. You can go see the show. It's over at SHR. Anyway, thanks to everybody for being in the chat room. And Lost Wanderer, you listened to Rick on purpose. Brave, brave man. Wow. Okay, you're pretty brave too, Lost Wanderer, indicating, as I've said oh so many times, proving that all who wander are not lost. So thanks to the 45 people now who are watching live in the broadcast, I continue with this. Like I said, there has to be some kind of a balance between the three branches of government. And to kind of touch back on the 1798 Alien Enemies Act, what it does is it grants a president in times of war the authority to deport and detain non-U.S. citizens of enemy countries. Well, see, Mexico isn't our friend, okay, and not the bulk of countries in Central and South America. Certainly not China, certainly not countries in the Middle East, certainly not countries in Africa. We don't see the Danes and the French clamoring to get into the United States. They have their own problems with repression, oppression, censorship, and tyranny. They have their own shit to worry about. But the AEA, the Alien Enemies Act from 1798, allows the government to apprehend and remove aliens who are subjects of a hostile nation or government during times of war. I repeat, these nations, they declared war on us, enabled by the autopen regime in order to drain our resources and invade. Moreover, I should like to point out this quote, and it is a quote. The act allows for the apprehension, restraint, and removal of aliens who are subjects of the hostile nation or the government. These acts were created for times of war. And also, with emphasis, political subversion and national security. And it was, and it is a war. until we manage to close a good portion of the border. I've said and written any number of times that Democrats, leftists, and globalists are intent upon not replacement theory, but as I've said before, replacement reality. The reality is, because you're an American citizen, you need to be replaced. So swamping the country with illegal invaders, which is a form of war on behalf of the Democrats, produces a whole host of great numbers of people in congressional districts, which creates additional congressional districts themselves, which in turn creates districts of people beholden to the politicos who got them there in the first place. And that's a major part of the point of it all, is to ensure that Democrats are elected in perpetuity. Pretty much, period. Create a brand new class of individuals that are loyal to them, dependent upon them, the government, and grateful for their directed largesse, because the Democrats are certainly doing that. Left completely out of the equation, and why it truly is replacement reality, left out of that equation are people like you and me. You know, actual Americans. And by that, you know, it's like the Australian journalist tried to corner Tucker Carlson. Oh, it's just about white people. As I referenced, ask the blacks that are in Chicago who are being pushed to the bottom by alien illegal invaders. And most every urban leftist urban rat cage all across the United States of America. And so I'm talking about not just whites, blacks, Asians, Hispanics, and all melanin counts in between. Okay? It's actual Americans, ourselves, who are being ardently kicked to the curb, enabled by the black-robed leftist anarchist judges who need to be removed. I said before, and I emphasize this now, and you'll understand very soon why. Who appointed them is immaterial. Their undermining for political biases is the point. They hate Trump, plain and simple, and sometimes those things really are elementary. So, oh, but it's a Trump appointee, that judge. Well, people will say one thing and then act another way. And then we also know, as we saw through SCOTUS, we picked and nominated people that we hoped would adhere to conservative values. And one of the first things we discovered, well, you cannot count on John Roberts. And you can't count on at least two of three of the three jurists for SCOTUS who were selected under Trump 45. So, you have to ask yourself, so sometime, and they don't want to, I'm certain of this, sometime SCOTUS has to weigh in on a very fundamental question, and they abhor thinking that they may actually have to do this. They're going to have to weigh in. SCOTUS is going to have to weigh in on a very fundamental question. How is it that district judges with authority only in a given area, or they wouldn't be called district judges, can somehow magically and mystically craft an opinion that affects the entire nation, enforcing primacy of the judicial branch over every other branch, the remaining two, executive and legislative? How does that happen? It happens because people let it happen. And that is part and parcel of what I've called for a long time Thug's Law. Now, I saw Thug's Law displayed in law enforcement, and the base foundational Thug's Law is this. Criminals say, what's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine, unless you're strong enough to stop me. Now, I speak leftist, so I translate it in this fashion. We're going to do anything and everything that we can, lawful or not, until you physically stop us or stop us in court with individuals who have standing. And even then, we'll shoot your ass down in flames. SCOTUS doesn't want to address this. They don't want to have to address issues that deal with SCOTUS, that deal with politics. Now, they'll talk and take on any number of cases that happen to do with, say, free speech or the abrogation of somebody's rights or somebody that got shot and they're suing and it's gone all through the appellate courts and it comes up to them. I had a particular case in 1998 from a general order that I wrote when I was in my department. And my general order regarding pursuits went up to SCOTUS in 1998 in Lewis v. Sacramento and came back down. And it was held that that was good policy at the time. So I'm familiar with these sorts of things and what it takes to get to a good SCOTUS case, which is standing and pertinence. So earlier, and I think Rick has said this any number of times, Rick Robinson today and on prior shows has conjectured about the temporary suspension of habeas corpus. And I'm sure a lot of people in the audience right now are going to go, well, two things. They're going to go, no, or what the hell is that? Well, hang on. I will describe. And it's a temporary, I would assume it's going to be a potential submitted temporary suspension of habeas corpus. Somewhere, somehow, this insanity has got to stop. And it's got to come in some kind of an alignment. Now, that's how dire these current circumstances are right now. So habeas corpus means basically the body of the corpse, is legal protection for detained people to argue in court that they are being held illegally. It's a legal procedure from which a report can be made to a court alleging, say, unlawful detentions or imprisonment of an individual, and requesting that the court order that the individual's custodian, whoever that might be, to bring the prisoner to the court to determine whether their detention is unlawful. On its face, hey, that sounds like a great idea, doesn't it? 45 minutes and I'm still talking, and I haven't really gotten into any stories or videos right now, but this is important. This is absolutely critical. Mission Ready Men, a great comment. And Unleash Jeremy Hansen, who is in chat. Thanks very kindly for being here. So it's an important concept, but are we to the point now where we actually have to consider this? Because if we don't, at the opposite end, at the end of that big long tunnel down there in the railroad tracks is a little bitty light, and that's the end of the country. So that's either somebody with a signal light or it's a big ass diesel locomotive about ready to run our collective asses over. But you have to ask yourself some questions, in my estimation. How is it can it be humanly or physically possible to bring what is presumed? I think people, the stats have been lying to you. People have said, oh, there's 11 million people in here illegally. Well, number one, bullshit. And then people most recently have been saying, oh, there's 20 million people in here illegally. To which I reply, bullshit. I suspect there's probably closer to 30 million illegal invaders here in the United States of America that have been purposely secreted all around, flown to various places in the dead of night. And we know it. We recognize it. But in terms of being able to the question really is, with that amount of individuals, how do you possibly take up to 30 million people and cram them into any kind of court for any kind of detention hearing in any kind of reasonable accommodation? That's just insanity writ large. Stop. And that's where, in my estimation, the Cloward-Piven strategy comes into place. Now, it was originally designed for something else. The Cloward-Piven strategy was originally the facilitation or fomentation of some kind of a political or infrastructure crisis. And first, it was designed at overloading the welfare system by way of an increase in welfare claims. So its focus originally was very, very small, very narrow, very limited. And that would, they hoped, force the creation of a system of guaranteed minimum income. That's what the Cloward-Piven strategies, that's what its focus absolutely was initially. And basically redistributing income through the federal government. But see, that's when you think inside the box. Now, if you're a leftist, you have to make sure that you think outside that box. Hey, why can't we use the Cloward-Piven strategy to destroy everything we hate, take it down to rubble, bounce the rubble, and start over? Only we'll be the ones in control, and we'll be the ones starting over. So it's interpreted, and the way it's utilized like a cudgel today is it's a directed and forced intentional crashing and overloading of any system, particularly a governmental system on any level, state, federal, local, and rebuild that system in the fashion that the way the people that are crashing it, that's what they want. Because if we can't get what we want on this end, we'll just tear civilization apart. And then in come the leftist, anarchist, black-robed judges who need to be removed. So, as I say, make no mistake. Okay, this is critical. Every bit of this is intentional. It's on purpose. It's quite purposeful. Democrats, leftists, and globalists, they couldn't win in the court of national elections, the popular vote, the electoral college, which, of course, they want to remove also as well, because they couldn't win there. So they've taken to judicial insurrection by basically the black-robed SS, the Schutzstaffel, or the SS paramilitary anarchists who happen to wear black robes. So to date, they're winning. And you may say something similar to, oh, BZ, no, they're not winning. This is temporary, because it will all eventually go up to SCOTUS, won't it? And SCOTUS, as you and I well know, will welcome these cases with open arms, because SCOTUS will have to weigh in on their friends, the federal judges, in the district courts, in the appellate courts. And what do we know about people in a certain given job or application? Don't they tend to support themselves? Well, they certainly do. And so you have to ask what I would consider to be the fundamental question. Okay, it's another BZ if-then equation. If this is true, and I believe it is, then why have branches of government at all? Why not just let these people do essentially anything that they want? Why have government at all? Let's just give judges the Ring of Sauron and have them be one branch to rule them all. Then there's this.
All right, another judicial pushback against President Trump's immigration crackdown. This comes after dozens were arrested in January during Border Patrol's Operation Return to Sender, where agents rounded up people determined to have entered the who were determined to have entered the country illegally. Yesterday, California District Judge Jennifer Thurston demanded CBP agents cannot arrest suspected illegal migrants without a warrant or reason to believe the person is a flight risk before they can get one. All right, another judicial pushback against President Trump's immigration crackdown. This comes after dozens were arrested in January during Border Patrol's Operation.
You know, being a producer, you have to do a couple of things at once. But that's what I was talking about right there. And so in your estimation, let me put this back in just in case. Just in case. If you wish to opine on the show, 58 people watching live right now. Thank you very kindly. And we got about 7 more minutes, about 6 more minutes before the top of the hour break. But I want to emphasize everybody, something has to be done about this. Something absolutely has to be done about this. Well, this occurred initially. People don't want to recognize this. Supreme Court allows Trump to enforce Alien Enemies Act for rapid deportations for now. People forget about that. That has already occurred. Let's continue. And how much can I get in before the top of the hour break? We'll find out. Here's Stephen Miller. Let's listen to him weigh in. Okay. Stop, Steve. Let me see if I can turn on the volume.
Side details of our foreign policy and negotiations with a foreign country. And in particular, we are not going to allow a district court judge to try to become the Secretary of State. Secretary Rubio is the one who, under his leadership and direction at the State Department, is managing the day-to-day relationship with El Salvador. Let's just take a moment, number one, to express our gratitude to El Salvador for agreeing to take some of the most dangerous terrorists off of America's streets and to put them into a safe environment where they cannot continue to engage in acts of terrorism or coordination with the Maduro regime.
Thank
you.
You
may have seen recently an FBI assessment that was unclassified.
Let me stop right there. You heard him say that black-robed leftist anarchists are trying to be the Secretary of State as well, correct?
That said that the Maduro regime is using and planning to use Trinidad terrorists to carry out assassination plots on American soil. Now, very few in this room covered that. I'll let you all ask yourselves why you didn't cover it and why your editors didn't assign that story to you. Something I think you should think about on your own. But this is a earth-shattering piece of news. The Biden administration imported the terrorist army that our own FBI assesses is planning assassination strikes on American soil against critics of the Maduro regime. Those are the terrorists that President Trump is finding and apprehending that our Democrat judges and Democrat activists are trying to keep on U.S. soil. Trinidad has the same legal status as Al-Qaeda and ISIS. MS-13 has the same legal status as Al-Qaeda and ISIS.
So let me stop here just for a second. Because as I postulated earlier, every time you come across a situation like this, you have to ask cui bono, who benefits? Who benefits as a result of this? Of black-robed leftist anarchists affording rights created out of whole cloth, never before applied to any other president, and certainly not to the auto pen regime. So who benefits? If you dive deep under each one of these judges, you discover that they themselves are leftists, that they themselves are linked to Democrat and leftist causes. Frequently, many of them are aligned with illegal immigrant causes and programs and systems. And the other thing that I say to that, and again, this is my opinion, I get to opine here because it's my damn show, they're on the take.
These are foreign terrorists operating on our soil. And our gratitude to El Salvador for agreeing to take custody of these terrorists is immense. with respect to the case that you mentioned, there's not even been more evidence that has been made public of this person's violent, repeated threats and assaults against his spouse, someone who had repeated, documented human.
Okay, stop. I don't want to relitigate this case. You know, it's already been relitigated any number of times. You get the deal and you get the gist out of that. I think I have just enough time to show you this. Remember the judge that got yanked out and everyone, all the Democrats and leftists were shitting car parts when this ignorant chick got arrested by the FBI for intentionally hiding an illegal immigrant who was a criminal. You know, I can't help but think and suspect that, like other instances, especially attorneys with criminals, that I've seen any number of cases, that she wasn't fucking this guy. So there's a reason that she did that, and she discovered that there were consequences. And oh, look, the Wisconsin court suspended her. Let me also, and people in response to that said, oh no, you can't do that. That's never occurred before. To which I reply, bullshit. It's absolute bullshit, because I'm an ancient dude, but I can find this shit on the internet. So that means that any moron can find this on the internet as well. Look, gee whiz. Back in 2019, Boston area judge charged with helping an undocumented immigrant escape the courthouse to elude ICE. So this judge and a court officer were hit with obstruction of justice charges for aiding the defendant. But you're not supposed to know that. You're not supposed to realize that there are certain histories of this. Before I go to the break, let me catch up on comments, if I can, please. The left applies Cloward-Piven to anything that they oppose. Absolutely. Somebody should send this equation to the White House as well. And that, of course, would be amazing. 58 people watching live right now. Thank you very much to each and every one of you. Also, this is interesting. Sean Lewis, who has his show that I mentioned earlier, The Edge of Liberty, has redone the SHR Media page. Go to shrmedia.com, shrmedia.com, and go there quick like a bunny, and perhaps check it out. And as Jack Alexander, Australia's own, who wants to be United States' own, that stopping illegal immigration is not on their list of worries. Of course it isn't, because as I've said any number of times, cui bono, who benefits?
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Join me right here on the SHR Media Network every Monday and Friday, 12 on the Pacific, 3 on the East Coast. On this show, we'll discuss news, politics, the government, how cranky we are about the government, and more. If you want to hear hard talk, good interviews, sarcasm, bad jokes, and oh God, that really is me in a nutshell. Either way, check me out right here on the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Friday, 12 Pacific, 3 on the East, on the SHR Media Network.
Freedom. One nation in all of human history was built on that bedrock. Ours. A republic of the people, by the people, and for the people. Self-government requires freedom, just as freedom requires an individual willingness to self-govern. Freedom has made America exceptional, but it can only last as long as you and I seek the good, as expressed by the laws of nature and nature's God. can only last if you and I choose to act as people of character. Forging character has been the pursuit of Hillsdale College since 1844.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? Then check out Seven Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with Seven Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com. 7armors.com. Faithful, vigilant, steadfast, fashion.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
The first hour is done. It's gone. It went away most zippalicious. That's a new word. I think I made it up. I may have made it up. Okay, I made it up. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching live. Thanks for being in the chat room. Well, I have recreated and will be recreating the chat room once more. This is our current iteration of the chat room. You can see that particularly when it's raining on a cool night like tonight where I am in Nothe, Idaho, it's not 70s, it's not 80s, it's not 90s. It's still in the 50s and the 60s, and at night it's still in the 30s. So that's why if I were in the chat room, I would want to be in a really nice, calm, relaxing chat room with a fire and really good people in there. So you can be in the chat room. Folks, who elects these bints, or this bint in particular? Okay. Listen to what she says and then ask yourself a very important question. Oh, I got some great videos coming up. Speaking of idiots, ask yourself this question. How would it feel if countries sent people to our country? What?
As far as I'm concerned, you randomly kidnapping folk and you throwing them out of the country against their civil rights, against their constitutional rights. And frankly, how would they feel if some other country decided that they were going to just start throwing people randomly in our country? Like that is absolutely insane. So yes, all I got to say is y'all need to get these fools out of here. But
y'all got to get these fools out of here. Who creates people like that? They get elected. Don't they get elected? Hey, and speaking of judges, speaking of leftist anarchist judges, what about this situation? About this person? Go.
Bria and John, the government wanted Owen McIntyre to spend the time before trial behind bars, but
Sorry, let me pull this back again. I should have given you a warning. Some of these play loud. Some of these play, you can hear them, and some of them play kind of soft. I suggest you turn this one up. This is as loud as I can get it.
Bria and John, the government wanted Owen McIntyre to spend the time before trial behind bars, but the judge in Boston sided with the defense in this case, which cited multiple medical issues facing the 19-year-old, including autism spectrum disorder, gender dysphoria, and ADHD. McIntyre's attorney argued the teen should be released, citing serious and ongoing medical needs and treatments that could not or would not be provided while in federal detention. The defense filing says McIntyre is being treated for depression and since March has been receiving gender-affirming care. That care would likely be interrupted or terminated in federal custody.
Gender-affirming care. Now gender-affirming care is a reason for people to not spend any amount of time behind bars. Let's catch up with the chat room. Sean says, my chat room is kind of a strip bar kind of thing. Reaver of Common Sense. By the way, go to shrmedia.com if you would. Sean Lewis has upgraded that for the SHR Media Network, shrmedia.com. And Mission Ready Men says, yeah, she is a moron. I'm going to answer this question for Sean. Jazzy answers the question I asked a few years ago. Could we elect a dumber person than AOC? And apparently they took that as a challenge. Well, yes, I'm going to prove to you tonight that you can elect an even stupider person than that. Let's go to this story. Because the American media maggots have been saying, Waltz got fired. He got kicked out of the regime. And that continues to prove that Trump doesn't know what he's doing. This is called an adjustment. And no, Waltz was not kicked out. He was moved over to be a UN ambassador. And for the time being, Marco Rubio, who apparently has really big shoulders, gets to have this role as National Security Advisor. He's already the Secretary of State, so essentially he's halfway there. That's not that big a deal. This is a big deal. This is a massively, and Sean Lewis is correct. Trump trolled him again. Because the tizzy is, Waltz, look, we told you, everybody in the cabinet, everybody in Trump 47, they don't know what they're doing. I can't tell you how many ridiculous convos I've had with leftists in social media today. Mostly I don't ignore them, but I do go to social media and to all the rest of the media to see what they're saying. And once again, would it shock you that they have it wrong? No, it shouldn't. However, Republicans are frequently their own worst enemies. This is another one proving to me that my becoming an independent and not a Republican was well formed. Look at this. How can you do this? How can you think of this? Now, this is from Politico, and I generally don't like to shove people watching into any particular direction towards leftists. And perhaps this is the time to interject. You know, folks, if you happen to watch the show live, or you're watching it later in podcast or listening to it, for example, and you're thinking to yourself, BZ, you're full of crap. The videos and the articles and whatnot, there's no validity to them. At the end of when I post the show on Rumble, when I post BZ Saloon on Rumble, I will include on every show notes. And on those show notes, it lists all the links that I used. And also, if you go to bloviatingzeppelin.net, bloviatingzeppelin.net, I post each show there as well. And that also contains a litany of show notes of all the articles and the videos that I referenced for that particular show. Getting back to this article, in what way, Republicans, did you think that this was a good idea? A new passenger car fee proposal. A proposal, this came out 2 days ago. A proposal to create a new $20 fee on most passenger cars to help pay for Trump administration priorities may already be in danger thanks to Republicans' loath to create a new fee. Do you think? You idiot motherfuckers, what are you even envisioning by crafting something like that? Anybody and everybody linked to that should be absolutely slapped shitless. I have a name. House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee Chair Sam Graves, Republican, Missouri, released the details Tuesday of his committee's contribution to the larger GOP megabill ahead of a planned Wednesday markup, which includes this $20 annual fee indexed to inflation. He said it's intended to lay the foundation for eventually doing away with the federal gasoline tax. And it's kind of a, oh, gee, let's throw EVs in there too. An EV tax, if you will. Folks, and I will be doing a show specifically on this next week. But I go back to what I am this old. My civics teacher in the 1960s, Mr. Helms, said, and this was a perfect example of that. Mr. Helms said, Democrats don't win elections. Republicans lose them. Now, there are still some people who are wise, and this amazing and stunning revelation came out recently that I want you to see and hear, please.
Something else we got out of the business of wasn't widely reported, or maybe it was. We had an office in the Department of State whose job it was to censor Americans.
What?
And by the way, I'm not going to say who it is. I'll leave it up to them. There's at least one person at this table today who had a dossier in that building.
Okay, that means a bunch of them, more than one individual, that's plural.
Of social media posts to identify them as purveyors of disinformation. We have these dossiers. We are going to be turning those over to these individuals.
That was J.D. Vance saying, oh, me and Elon.
We can follow up with the media story.
Well, we are going to turn over these dossiers to the individuals, and they'll decide whether they want to disclose it or not. But just think about it. The Department of State of the United States had set up an office to monitor the social media posts and commentary of American citizens to identify them as vectors of disinformation, when we know that the best way to combat disinformation is freedom of speech and transparency.
Stop. The best antidote for speech you don't like is more speech. But in terms of the Democrats and the leftists, no. You can't have more speech. Speaking of speech, this was glorious. I watched this today on Rick Robinson's show, and it was so great that I said to Rick, because that's his name, send me this link, would you please? And so here's the calm and non-judgmental and peaceful. This is a peaceful discussion by leftists on CNN. And you'll see that not only is Islam the religion of peace, but the Democrat Party is the party of peace.
A lot of them came in with parole. A lot of them came in.
CNN polling shows 54% of Americans want Mr.
November
Rodrigo
polling
Garcia
showed Donald
back.
Trump won the
That's
election.
CNN
So
polling.
November
is shifting.
polling.
Right.
We are a sovereign nation, and you cannot just come into our country illegally whenever the heck you want, because we can't do it to any other country on the face of this
Asylum
earth.
is illegal,
If
right?
you come in illegally, you have to leave. Americans are tired of that. We do not have unlimited resources.
You know who was here
We have to
illegally
care
with a
for our own people
deportation order?
first.
Marco Rubio's grandfather.
All right, let's.
We're not talking about Marco Rubio.
Oh, now
Anna.
we're not? Now that's
No,
not relevant?
it's not
No,
relevant.
I'm talking
It's not
about
relevant
Marco
to this
Rubio because
conversation
Marco
at all.
Wait, who's the voice of logic here? Oh, black people can't be the voice of logic. This is a black person speaking against his own party. Oh my God. Bad black person. Bad. Shouldn't be doing it. Then he brings up a bunch of salient points. Oh, he's not going to get a Christmas card from the DNC or CNN.
He used to be an advocate for TPS for Venezuelans, and Marco Rubio used to be
I'm not Marco
an advocate
Rubio,
for Nicaraguans and Cubans. No, I know you're
If you come into
not.
this country illegally, you are going home. Simple as
Okay.
that. We do not
Listen,
have unlimited
I
resources
think
in
a
this
lot of
country
Americans
to take care of other people.
But wait, it devolves even more.
A hell of a lot of
hold on,
people,
guys.
other than the black
Anna.
people who were brought here as slaves, who came to this country illegally.
They're
From a
not
lot
the
of
same as
different-
black people who were brought here against
That's
our will.
exactly what I
They
just said.
decided
I
to
said
walk
there is
their
a
way
lot of
across the
people
border. There's
other
a big
than the
difference.
black
There is
people.
a big
That's
difference.
exactly what I
There's a
just
big
said.
difference.
That's
Share
exactly
Michael,
what I just
share
said,
Michael,
Sir Michael.
and
Look
Anna.
and act indignant. That's
Okay.
exactly what
It's
I
not
just
about
said.
acting
I-
indignant.
Yes, it is.
let me
You
just
heard me
share
say
Michael.
that other than the black
Anna
people
and
who
share
came
Michael.
as slaves. There are a lot of people from
Chair
many,
Michael, I
many
think you
countries
actually
that came
misheard
here
what she.
illegally.
I think you misheard what she said.
No, he purposely misheard it.
She said.
I purposely
Yes, you
misheard
did.
it. So now you're in my
Chair
brain?
Michael, listen to me for
Is
just a
that,
second.
is that where we're going?
You
Chair
think
Michael,
I would
listen to me
say,
for a
I who
second.
have advocated
Anna,
for black
please
people
stop.
my entire life, would
Anna,
say something like that?
Anna,
Give me a
Because
damn
you've
break.
advocated for black
Anna,
people,
please
great.
stop.
Congratulations. Last time I checked, I'm black. You're not.
Okay, Chair Michael.
That's right. I'm Latino, and my people are being racially profiled.
It is.
And
And do I have to remind you the history of my people?
Chair
Do
Michael,
you want to go there?
No, I
Do
don't.
you really
Okay,
want to go
we're
there?
gonna
Never-
go to
Now we have the hierarchy of victimhood. This is what the Democrats and the leftists and the globalists are all about. Who can be the biggest martyr? Who can be the biggest victim? You're watching it.
I know the history.
Raul,
of your
we're going to go to
You know
break.
why?
Raul Reyes, thank you very much for
History
joining us.
people have
Everybody else, hang tight.
History was not
We'll be right back.
erased when I was.
And I'm sure they continued to argue about that on into the break. And as the Phantom said, meh, 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 like what did Mr. Beaker say? Professor Beaker. Didn't he say, me, 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 me? That's all she heard. That's all the Phantom heard. That's all I heard. Me, 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 me. Thanks to Mr. Beaker. Here's an important point that I said I was going to mention. And I have about 10 minutes before the break, 11 minutes before the break. So this is a good time to mention it right now. 58 people watching live right now. Thanks to everybody watching live the show. 2026 is around the corner. And we're paying way too damn much attention to presidential elections and people who are running for 28. And people are saying, oh, well, the Democrats are clearly in disarray right now. And when your enemy is shooting themselves in the head, let them. Okay. I get that. I grok that concept. Very good. But this is the disparity and the split that I'm going to emphasize next week, which is do not rule the Democrats out right now. Yes, they are in disarray. Yes, they're trying to discover who they are. But there are two separate venues that we're talking about. One is the venue for what are we going to do? What candidates do we have? What kind of potentialities for 2028? That's way over there. What we should be concerned about right now is 2026 and the midterms. That's where the Democrats are lining up right now. And all the things that are perceived as being weaknesses of Trump right now will be trotted out during 2026. And if we as Republicans and conservatives are not crafting our own response to this and setting up our own individuals and funding the individuals that we think have the best chance in the 2026 midterms, if we lose the House, if we lose the Senate, and the margins right there are what they call razor thin margins, because that's their job, man. Don't count the Democrats out. Don't think that, oh, I've actually heard Republicans and potential conservatives say something similar to, and this is just, I can't think of any other way to say this other than this is just fucking stupid. Oh, the Democrats, they're done. Beer nuts. The Democrats are done. They'll never come back. They'll never be a viable part. Fuck you. No, that's wrong. Wise the hell up. They're smart enough to get all the leftist, the black-robed leftist anarchists working against us, working against Trump. And that ploy is working for right now. If, in fact, the SCOTUS will take those cases. There's no guarantee of that. There's no guarantee of these things being overturned. A lot of people think, yeah, they're going to be overturned, but that takes time. And if the Democrats decide that they're going to fight for the House and fight for the Senate, and let's say they get a razor-thin lead in the House or the Senate, then you're going to see impeachment city of everyone and everything. You will see a tsunami of obstruction heretofore never even envisioned. So, yeah, it's important to look ahead to 2028. You know, my hat will get here shortly. I bought one that says Trump 2028 just because I like to troll the fuck out of people. That's coming. I'll be wearing it when I get it. Thank you. But the midterms are where we need to be focusing right now, because if we lose the House, if we lose the Senate, we're going to be encountering a shitstorm of shit. And you can quote me on that. Sean said, the left hates it when they get pushed back on. How dare he argue with a Hispanic woman? No, that's very true. And Mission Ready Men said, they said the same thing about Republicans not that long ago. You can never count the other side out, especially if Republicans are true to form and snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, which they have historically done any number of times. Earl, first one tonight. Thank you very much. That is a completely salient observation and very timely, which Sean emphasizes with emphasis. Don't back off, not for a second, especially as BZ's civics teachers say, they somehow find a way to lose elections. Looks like I'm going to have time for one more story before the bottom of the hour break. And let me put this up here. This is the story I'm going to be going to next. But as I am wont to say, I haven't touched a fraction of the stories that I have here and the great videos that I want to play for you. I may or may not. I don't think there's anybody coming on after me at KLRN. And I don't think so. Let me pull this down just for a second to complete my thought, if I might. 5 minutes to go before the bottom of the hour break. Oh, Mission Ready Men, who has to do this thing called work, says, I have to get up early, so I bid you all a good night. Thanks for being here, ever so kindly. Also, SHR Media says, hey, you little scamps, and this is a good time for this reminder. It's that time of night where SHR says, hey, would you do me a favor and like the episode and subscribe to the channel? And BZ needs that porcelain Dalmatian. Consider it a tip. And this is what I've discovered. As I said earlier, we are 46 subscribers away on the SHR Media YouTube channel from 500 subscribers. When we reach this magic number, the algorithms tend to back up a little bit and lift off just a little bit. Now, why that's necessarily so true, I'm not so sure. But please, if you would subscribe. And the other thing that I have to say is for my Rumble channel specifically, the SHR Media and specifically BZ Saloon channel, I have 103 followers right now, and I am very grateful for those people. And as Sean points out, the midterms are going to be huge. So we can do any number of things at once. We can concentrate on a whole number of areas at once, and we must do so. Yeah, you can start to set things up for 28. Okay, the Democrats are certainly in disarray on that. Who's it going to be? Everyone wonders and postulates. But the midterms next year, we better get our collective asses together, or there's going to be a big problem. Big problem. My final story for this half hour. I bring you stories so that you can see and understand. If we lose, there's another level or threshold. Cheetah's in the chat. Good to see you, Cheetah, in the chat. He comes in later in the chat. A chat cat. Cheetah, see what I did there? This is what we'll, again, get more of should we lose. Unhinged main teacher demands Secret Service, military, assassinate Trump and his supporters. If I had the skill set required, I would take them out myself. Now, what do you think would have been the reaction of some Republican who said or wrote something similar to that during the auto pen regime? It would have been news 24/7 for weeks and potential months that someone was threatening in the clear, in public, published in articles like this, that the auto pen, not the auto pen, but Biden was being threatened. And you know for a fact the Secret Service would have investigated that. It would have gone to the DOJ. It would have gone to the FBI. These are the nut jobs, and this is why I have to tell you, and I believe rightfully so, don't discount another assassination attempt on Trump by leftists. Don't discount an assassination attempt on J.D. Vance, and don't discount a potential assassination attempt on Elon Musk or anyone else in the cabinet, Secretary of State, Chief of Staff, and on down. Don't discount it. The potential is there. We got to protect the people that are trying to do something for this nation right now. I'll be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Welcome to Reaver of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a sharp wit and clear discussion. Tune in every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a refreshing dose of reality as we fearlessly tackle the tough topics with no nonsense, just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com to discover where you can catch Reaver of Common Sense in action. He's here to amplify your inner logic. He may not always be polite, he may not always be refined, but one thing's for sure, he always tells it like it is.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being, and in the good that comes from exercising these rights well. The founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high-quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this. You rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic woman who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
This is the final half hour. My grand thanks to everybody who was watching. We have 60 people watching live. Gratitude to all of you. A ton of people have been in chat. I should point out that Sean Lewis has revamped SHRmedia.com. That's our flagship point in the internet. Go to SHRmedia.com. If I'm not mistaken, you may still be able to find some great stuff there, some great merch at SHRmedia.com. Now, I have not yet been there, but I will go there after this show to take a peek at what Sean has done. And if it's done with the stellar professionalism that he customarily has done in the past, then my guess is it's going to look really good. So thanks to everybody who is here tonight. This is, and this befuddles me. I think these people are doing it just because they can. There are any number of bills that are being considered and or have already passed against firearms. This is one that Adam Schiff is pushing himself. But there are other bills. There is a bill in the state of California to essentially eliminate Glocks entirely because of an issue that Glocks have with an attachment. Now, these attachments are already illegal on the state level and the federal level, but the state of California, always spell it with a K, decided that they were going to make illegal even more illegal, perhaps even illegal-er. And then the state of Washington either pushed or will be pushing shortly or has already passed a bill where firearms with a detachable magazine are going to be proscribed. And I'm not making this up. Detachable magazines have to be literally, this is from the bill, welded or epoxied to the firearm itself, so that you would essentially have, if you wanted to buy a Glock, you'd have a $500 one-use firearm. Because once you run out of things that go boom in that magazine being welded or epoxied into the grip itself is no more function. It's gone. You cannot use it no more. So if you're going to pay $1,500 or $2,000 for some kind of a rifle platform that has a detachable magazine, that magazine must be welded or epoxied onto that receiver. And that is, again, a $2,000 one-use firearm. And the point is, who's going to buy that? Who's going to do that? Who's going to pay that amount of money for a firearm that is a one-use gun? And the answer is nobody. But that's what the push is right now, at a time when high violent crimes are tending to trend down right now. But that's when you have to push for this. So here's Adam Schiff.
Today I will be introducing the assault weapons ban of 2025, a bill that would ban the sale, manufacture, import, and transfer of military-style assault weapons. Since 2006, there have been 486 mass shootings involving assault weapons.
More people have been killed by knives. Well, that fuckstick isn't going to tell you that.
Hundreds and hundreds of Americans have been killed in these mass shootings. This bill is a way to attack that massive threat to our safety and security. Dianne Feinstein introduced the first assault weapons ban 31 years ago after a school shooting in Stockton, California. For 10 years, that bill had a dramatic impact on mass shootings and mass casualties.
Oh, let me address this after he finishes, if you would allow me. That was during Clinton. That was 1993 and 1994. I happened to be working then. I may have some opinions about this.
But when that expired, mass fatalities and gun shootings went up by 236%. The impact was that dramatic It's time to pass an assault weapons ban again. It's time to protect our communities from senseless gun violence. It's time to bring back that powerful common sense reform again. It's time for the assault weapons ban of 2025.
Well, if you look at this, you can see that essentially the person who put that up into X said, it's DOA, it's dead on arrival, it's not going anywhere. But hey, would it surprise you to know that I worked 41 to 42 years in law enforcement, and during the 80s, I was in patrol. And what came through in the 80s? Oh yes, the instigation of major gangs all up and down the Boneyard Land in California. Always spell it with a K because that's where I was a cop in the 80s. Then I went to detectives in the 90s. In the early 90s, I was in theft, and then I was in child abuse, and then I was in warrants, and I eventually went to robbery. During this time, robberies in the state of California committed by guns and firearms and rifles were at the highest in the 90s. Oh, that's after firearms were proscribed by the Clinton administration. Well, would it surprise you to know that the criminals weren't listening? Damn them. So again, once and forever, Adam Schiff is full of shit. And they're used statistics that indicate that, well, they're full of shit. Hey, if you want to hear another guy continue being full of shit, here's Jamie Raskin lying to your face again.
He was arrested and swept up and flown out of the country to El Salvador.
This is about that asshole Kilmer Garcia that everyone loves. They love him. They love this boy.
As part of the government's dragnet campaign against Tren de Aragua. But he had no criminal record. There were
bullshit.
No outstanding criminal charges against him.
Bullshit.
And he had no association with any criminal gang.
Bullshit.
And yet he was sent to the dictator of El Salvador because he has a tattoo on his right arm, which was mistakenly associated with Tren de Aragua.
Bullshit and more bullshit and more lies. These folks don't know the truth from a lie. It entirely and completely escapes them, and they will continue with that. They will lie directly to your face. Now, what do I have? About another 20 more minutes in the show. We'll be getting to happy stories, and there are some. This is from, let me put this up on the stage. This is Scott Bessent, who does have something positive to say.
Thanks to President Trump's tireless efforts to secure a lasting peace, I am glad to announce the signing of today's historic economic partnership agreement between the United States and Ukraine, establishing the United States-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund. This partnership allows the United States to invest alongside Ukraine to unlock Ukraine's growth assets, mobilize American talent, capital, and governance standards that will improve Ukraine's investment climate and accelerate Ukraine's economic recovery. The Development Finance Corporation will participate and help to establish this fund in collaboration with the government of Ukraine. Today's agreement signals clearly to Russian leadership that the Trump administration is committed to a peace process centered on a free, sovereign, and prosperous Ukraine over the long term. It's time for this cruel and senseless war to end. The killing must stop, and both the United States and the government of Ukraine look forward to quickly operationalizing this historic economic partnership for both the Ukrainian and American people.
So I have some comments, and I have some thoughts, and I have some questions. Upon hearing this, one of the first questions I had was, will Ukraine be another Iran? That is to say, you can do a deal with Iran, and they don't give a shit about making sure that they uphold their contract. They'll kick it to the curb if it's in their best interest, and it's always in their best interest to kick it to the curb. Democrats seem to think that you can do a deal with Iran and they will honor it. And the answer is no, they will never honor it. They never can, and they never have honored it. So the biggest question for this is, if the deal was cut, will Ukraine hold it or will they kick it to the curb? Now, some other observations on this, because people have saying, oh, United States of America, you must support Ukraine because their flag is blue sky above and gold below to indicate the fertile soil and the wheat and the products that they have in Ukraine. And we must sympathize with Ukraine. Zelensky has had any number of opportunities to stop the war, to at least call for a ceasefire. Like Yasser Arafat, who was in charge of the PLO, forestalled any number of opportunities with Israel. Israel made them numerous offers: peace, land, we'll give you this. Sean also says, yeah, well, okay, don't forget fertilizer. Very important. That was correct. But Yasser Arafat was a multi-millionaire, damn near a billionaire, who profited off the deaths of the Palestinians. And so Zelensky in Ukraine has refused any number of deals proffered and made to him. Will he keep this deal? See, in the mindset of Democrats and leftists and globalists is that any deal with the United States of America must, by its very nature, be unilateral. That is to say, one-sided. And that side means the U.S. gives, your hard-earned American taxpayer dollars are given to other countries for free, for nothing in return. And under Trump 47, the return is, we've already given you billions and billions of dollars under the auto pen regime. And now that shit is stopping. That train has halted, and we're about to kick you out to the train station. We want something in return. And for the money that we have already spent, we want a return. And these deals from Trump, because that's what he does, are bilateral. That is to say, if we give you something, James Harbin in chat says, 350 billion. That's what we gave Ukraine, $350 billion. And Sean Lewis says, hey, thanks for the show. Got to go. Understood. So will Ukraine honor the deal? It's going to be. Every deal that Trump makes is going to be bilateral. If we give, we're going to get something. That's what you do in deals. That's how actual life works. Because up until now, our hard-earned American taxpayer dollars have been pissed away in what we now know are egregious legion amounts. Heretofore, you can't even... The amount of money pissed away on leftist NGOs, USAID, etc., is almost beyond human kin. And we would never have discovered any of that had Kamala considered, Cami Cackler, or the auto pen decided to run and then win. And you would never have determined or discovered any of this had Hillary Clinton beaten Trump back in 2016. Oh, lo, those many years away. Listen, or 2016. Think of this. This is mind-blowing. Hillary Clinton expecting that it was her time and to get smacked in the face. I mean, it did this to Democrats. It literally did that to Democrats. And they also thought that during the past election, November 5th, they were going to be the winners. It was their time that was due. And then they also went November 6th. They did that. They can't believe it. Now, again, make sure that you understand the massive difference between preparing for 2028, and that's where the Democrat Party is in disarray, but they are not in disarray when it comes to fucking us over in midterms in 2026. And again, as I indicate, I will be speaking to that next week. We can never forego that. We can never think that, is this a happy story? God, squirrel. That's what I do on this show. I say, you know what? I'm going to go over here. So if you would follow me over here. And then I lead you over there with a couple of sentences and then squirrel. And then I forget what I'm going to say because let's do this. Let's listen to Scott Jennings. How did CNN ever manage to put this guy on their air? I don't get this. He's pretty good.
And what's worse, a president not having all the information he needs to make a legitimate comment, so he holds back in the moment before being ready to make a comment, or, I don't know, willfully lying to the American people about the condition of the president of the United States, which went on for 4 years in this country by all
That
of your
is
colleagues.
totally wrong.
What's
That
worse?
is totally
What's worse?
wrong. That
What's
is
worse?
totally wrong.
I hope you
I
read
would
all the
just
books
say
that are
Joe
coming out. I
Biden.
hope you read all the books that are
I'm
coming
upset.
out.
Joe Biden. I mean,
You guys
I don't
are
know if you're
upset
judge.
that
If
Trump
you're a
is
judge,
exhibiting some, I want to get more facts, and I'm going to be lectured by the people who lied to the American people about the condition of the president.
Oh my God!
No way.
No, but
Not gonna take
that's first of all, that's outrageous.
Is
That's
it?
outrageous. Yes, it is.
You
I
think
did
the
not
truth was
lie.
told? You think the truth was told?
I will say.
Did the White
and
House tell the
I will look
truth?
forward to this. I will look forward to this discussion.
Okay, I'm sorry again that this was low, but these are leftists, Democrats, saying that you can't believe your lying eyes. It's outrageous to point out the fact that Biden was ridden with dementia probably since right around 2016, 2018. Was it not Obama that said something similar to, you can always count on Joe Biden to fuck up a good situation, or words to that effect, Senator? And the answer is yes. Cheetah says, I don't think Zelensky is capable of making any deal. See, the proof will be in the pudding. Will they be Iran? Will they be the Europe Iran? Also, James Harbin says, the PLO leader, well, that was certainly true of Yasser Arafat. I couldn't tell you who the guy is, the current PLO leader, has a ton of money that he's profited from in terms of the deaths of Palestinians. You know, 2 yachts, billions in the bank, Florida mansion, and that. Cheetah. Okay, that is totally wrong. Shut this whiny bitch up. Okay, and that's why I stopped it. That's why I stopped it. These people will continue to lie to your face. I have all right, right now, you know what I think? I think it's definitely time for this.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
Because here's a happy story. This is great. This should have occurred a long time ago, but it took the Trump 47 regime to make sure that this did occur. Kash Patel's FBI reassigns agents who took a knee in the George Floyd protest pick. Now, I was in the FBI. That was a long time ago. It was a completely different FBI. That is not your father's FBI. That's nobody's FBI. That's a loser's FBI. So when I go around through various makes and models and modes of social media, I found this guy. Well, and he says, oh no, this is so wrong. It's so wrong to move these FBI agents And then he and I had a little tete-a-tete. This is Agent Self, whoever the fuck he is, and I don't care. But I'm just putting this up here, not to promote him, but to say, see, and this shitstick forgets that even though I'm old and ancient and really super obese and ugly and hairy, I have access to the internet just like he does. That's why I do this show. That's why I bring these things to you. Recent reports confirm that federal immigration agents, including ICE, mistakenly raided the home of an American citizen in Oklahoma City, traumatizing the family, damaging their property, and confiscating their cash and belongings. They're going to break into the wrong house one day and lives will be lost. This is incompetence coming from the Trump administration. To which I replied to this fuck nozzle, because, you know, that's never happened before under the FBI, has it? And so I showed this to him. And then I never heard from him again. Because now this is a case involving the FBI where the Supreme Court currently, because this is an April 29th article from this year, the Supreme Court has said that it's going to go ahead and revive a lawsuit against the FBI over a raid on the wrong house. This is from April 29th about an FBI raid on a home. The Supreme Court signaled Tuesday it's going to revive a lawsuit from a suburban Atlanta family that was mistakenly held at gunpoint in their bedroom after the FBI accidentally conducted a pre-raid dawn on the wrong address. Dude, I'm not stupid. I may look like it. I may have a face made for radio, not for certain video products. And maybe I should never have any video. Maybe I should just talk and have a podcast where you can't see me. I get it. But once I slammed that back in that idiot's face, isn't it odd? I never really heard from that guy again. I've made a decision. I am going to not continue with the show because I have some things that I have to do. But wait, there are 2 more videos, and I am. You can see me. Look at me. Oh, I'm so happy. This is BZ's Happy Fat Dance. I get to play these videos for you. These are both from one guy, and these are juicy. They're lovely, and I think this is a wonderful way for me to end Thursday night's show, May 1st, the year of our Lord, 2025. And it's already the next day in Eastern time right now. That's okay. It's almost tomorrow in Central, and it's still today, pushing 10 o'clock on Pacific. But this is a great video, and it will be followed up by another video. And once you see this, the curtains will part, and you will begin to understand, hey, I know why BZ did this. And also, I know what's coming next. Here's Democrat Hank Johnson. First, they came for the Latinos. And this is 3 minutes of Hank Johnson because nobody does Hank like Hank.
First, they came for the Latinos outside of the Home Depots trying to get work so that they could feed their families. And I didn't say anything about it because I'm not a Latino at the Home Depot. Then they came for the Hispanic-looking folks.
Okay. Notice the look on the chick with glasses as this guy is talking, because she gave him a look, and my belief is she's trying like crazy not to laugh at this because, well, Hank Johnson is just damn nuts. He's crazy. Hank, go.
Wearing hats backward with tattoos. And they deported them to El Salvador. And I didn't say anything about that because I don't wear my hair backward, and I don't have any tattoos, and I don't look like a Latino.
Okay, again, look at the chick. She is trying her level best to not laugh. Now, you get the taste and the flavor of Hank Johnson right there, because he speaks at a glacial pace. He's from Georgia. The idiots in Georgia keep electing this guy with the IQ of a fucking ficus. Okay. But let's go on, because those who know Hank Johnson, you guys know exactly where I'm heading next, don't you? And this is I couldn't leave.
This is
Stop. Let me back this up. I couldn't leave this show tonight on Thursday. I couldn't leave this week in better hands than for you watching this video. This is going to be this is the capper to the show. Okay, I didn't get to a fraction of the stuff. I never do, but I am super damn glad that I got to this. Again, Hank Johnson. I'm trying to think of what year this was. 13 years ago, the video says, let's listen to good old Hank Johnson from Georgia. This is $1 million monster crassy.
This is a island that at its widest level is 12 miles from shore to shore, and at its smallest level or smallest
okay, he's speaking to a Navy admiral. Now, occasionally they will show the admiral, but listen to the voice of the admiral and how this guy kept his measure and didn't make any kind of a ridiculous response is amazing. It's amazing. Go.
Location, it's 7 miles between one shore and the other.
Ficus.
Is that correct?
I don't have the exact dimensions, but to your point, sir, I think Guam is a small island.
Very small island, and about 24 miles, if I recall, long. So 24 miles long, about 7 miles wide at the least widest place on the island, and about 12 miles wide on the widest part of the island.
Ficus. Or on drugs, or on huge pharmaceuticals.
And I don't know how many square miles that is. Do you happen to know?
I don't have that figure with me, sir. I can certainly supply it to you if you'd like.
Yeah, my fear.
Okay, that admiral is doing a great job. He's doing a great job of not mocking the human shit out of Hank Johnson.
Is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
We don't anticipate that. The Guam population, I think, currently about 175,000, and again with 8,000.
Okay, this admiral was a wonderful guy. He kept his composure. Could you have done that? I couldn't. I could not have done that.
Marines and their families. It's an addition of about 25,000 more into the population.
The whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
Okay, that comes from the line of, excuse me, but you can't write that shit. And that guy gets consistently elected to Congress in Georgia again and again and again. Oh my God. Well, again, I didn't get to a fraction of what I wanted to, but I go out like this for the end of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network at KLRN. Thanks, Rick Robinson, for live streaming me tonight. It is the I should stipulate, it is the grandiose and exquisite and munificently exquisite KLRN. A great lot of folks over there. As per normal, this hasn't changed, by the way. This is Rick Robinson, and the Rick Robinson Show will be on tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific. Promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, by Shure and Electro Voice microphones, the one I use here, also the mixer I use, and also promotional considerations. Hey, let me pull this off right now so you can see. Promotional considerations by the Pratt & Whitney Dependable Engine Company, providing thrust you can trust. And also, I should tell you that tiaras are by My Little Pony. And thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I shall be consorting. Everybody, God bless, take care, you be safe, have a great weekend.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.